What is going on, guys? Today we officially got in our 6.2 update notes. This is the big weapon balance, basically revert back to 5.0. This is all coming out on Thursday, March 5th with each platform times here on the screen. We also have more things to talk about, like the tank customizations that are set to finally release during this update, plus some various bug fixes and changes to gadgets, like the changes they've made with the Bazooka and the Panzerfaust that I'll talk more about here in a little bit. But let's first get into the big change, the new, or should I say old, weapon balance changes, as it has some new elements to it, but leans way more into what it was before DICE started to adjust the values back around the launch of the Pacific Theater update. So it appears they have returned the base damage at range values on most weapons back to their previous standards used in 5.0. However, they will be maintaining a drop in range damage, but one that is smaller than what they used during both the 5.2 and 5.2.2 updates, which were the updates that basically messed up all the gun values. So that's why I was saying we still have some new elements here, and we're not completely going back to how it was. They went on to say that additionally, range damage is now based on a weapon's class rather than its rate of fire. Overall, you'll find that weapons do more damage up close and that the experience engaging a player at range is more satisfying. Assault rifles and LMGs will hit harder at range than SMGs with the equivalent rate of fire. Recoil and accuracy values have been adjusted to be consistent with the values used in 5.0, with the only exception being the Type 2A, which has had a substantial increase in recoil to balance it with in the SMG class. So yeah, it looks like DICE is bringing in the Type 2A as being the standout go-to SMG as of late. Bolt action rifles now have higher muzzle velocities across the board. DICE said these weapons are Battlefield's longest range weapons and are outperformed by other weapons due to the bullet velocity. This adjustment will return bolt action rifles to be the kings of long and very long range combat. So looks like this is going to make it very interesting now, trying to think you can take a semi-automatic rifle and now challenge those snipers from those far distant battles. They also said they have increased the Type 11's muzzle velocity slightly for both its default and high velocity bullets, and hopes to make it separate a bit more from the brand and help make its range damage stand out. And finally, they are restoring the additional muzzle velocity adjustments for sniper rifles that did not make it into the 6.0 update last month. So, okay, very interesting stuff here. I like how DICE is making the range damage now based on weapon class rather than its rate of fire. I think that will help a lot for players just having that common sense element when choosing a gun. For example, like how they said, assault rifles and LMGs will hit harder at range than SMGs. Also, even though it's not affecting the range damage, that increased muzzle velocity for snipers still again brings that element when choosing a gun that if I choose a sniper rifle, I should by default have the most advantage at these further ranges. This feels like it should have been a thought process considered since the start of balancing the guns, but like all these things, some things can look pretty simple on the surface and they easily become more complex the more we look into it. But yeah, regardless, I just hope we finally have some solid changes here so DICE can start focusing on other areas of Battlefield that needed attention. So hopefully this kind of works things out and we get back to some good solid gun gameplay. But let's now move on to the tank customizations. The update notes didn't really mention a bunch about them, but we got in the community broadcast last week where we were shown a glimpse of how this would look. We'll have the same paint job option, but now we'll see the turret and chassis dressings. This is an example here with basically just being a bunch of sandbags on the tank, but it'll give you a little bit of idea how it works. They said they will be adding 37 customization pieces to your company immediately for purchase with your company coin, and then they will be rotating the rest through the armory rotation that will have varying rarities like how they already do with weapons and soldier skins. Some of these as well will be only purchased through with real money. Again, the same thing that they've been doing already with weapons and player skins. So that's a brief look. If you guys haven't seen this already, I think right now I'm just more interested in seeing how the other 37 customizations are going to look, because obviously sandbags here are just to give us an idea of what they're doing here, and they're just giving us basically the most basic, tank customization element that is going to be there, I imagine. So But with that said, that's about all that's going good for tanks, because in this 6.2 update, DICE has fixed the lunge mine. It will now bring out more consistent damage instead of that 5 damage or whatever damage you guys were getting. As far as I'm concerned, it should be 50 damage with 1 hit. So yeah, I mentioned this before in one of my older videos that it will be very interesting how the tank meta will be with the lunge mine fix and things like the bazooka in play. Now DICE is tweaking the damage values for the bazooka and the Panzerfaust. The bazooka now does slightly less damage, especially for poor angle hits, reflecting its role as a long-range sniper type of weapon, while the Panzerfaust now does slightly more damage, especially at poor angles, returning it to the solid, all-round, reliable anti-tank weapon. So they basically changed these values up, not so much for tanks, but just for the bazooka, not basically making the Panzerfaust obsolete. So in my opinion, tanking is still going to be pretty interesting to watch now with all these anti-tank gadget improvements and additions to Battlefield. I mean, when you go look at the patch notes, they even increased the damage for the anti-tank mines. And even though they did say slightly, and the anti-tank mines were heavily nerfed a while back ago, it's still kind of interesting to kind of see all this kind of evolving right now. So yeah, definitely some pretty interesting stuff. I'll link down the full post down in the comments below if you guys want to check out all the various bug fixes and a little bit of map improvements that they've done. But that's basically it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later.